All right, welcomes guys for another Alpha X replay cast, and we are back into IEM Katowice 2022. We are of course in the group stage, and the group B, which involves this guy here at the bottom left. He's a red Zerg player playing for ENCCE, or ENCE for short. He is Serral.
And his opponent, we have the blue Protoss player hailing from Germany and playing for Berlin International Gaming. It is Showtime.
Okay, so of course we are in a best of 3 series, as all these series and matches in the group stages are a best of 3. And interesting map to start off with. I would not expect, or wouldn't have expected, Blackburn to be our first map, but apparently it is.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, Serral obviously is not a Terran or a Protoss player, so the choice for Blackburn, especially going against Showtime, is a little bit interesting. Now, Showtime, of course, known for his impeccable defense, known infamously as Demourer. Maybe Serral is not expecting Showtime to get too aggressive and take advantage of that airspace in the middle. But who knows? We will have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for that side, and then of course to finish, and then we'll see, of course, Showtime's tech of choice. And then I think, Serral, he's going to go ahead and just rely on his scouting to see what tech of choice he wants to go for in response to Showtime. Serral's one of those players that really kind of just mainly reacts to his opponent, because he's really, if you think about all the playstyles, he's really strong in different army composition and playstyle wise. So it's just a matter of him just scouting to see what's up, to see what Showtime is going for, and then going for the best build to counter that.
I'm a little bit surprised that Showtime put the pylon and the Stargate where he did. I mean, that's a pretty easy scout by Serral, I would say. But also, Stargate is so common in this matchup that maybe Showtime just doesn't care that Serral is able to scout it.
You know what? I mean, if it was me, I would probably place the pylon and the Stargate like way in the back of the mineral line. I think at the very least you can kind of force the Overlord to fly deep in, and then you can kind of try to snipe it with a Stalker or something.
Right.
But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the pylon and Stargate placement could have been better.
Looks like Showtime is going to choose to open up with a double Oracle. Now, what is more common, 2 or 3 Oracles? I feel like 3 Oracles is definitely not bad either.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch go for either 2 or 3. I guess it's just up to either their preference or the specific build they're going for. But I wouldn't be surprised if Showtime does go make another Oracle. Or I guess it looks like he will stick with only 1 for now. Oh, never mind. Cast a curse?
Nah, I think that was pretty good timing on your part, and on Showtime's, of course. He does get that third Nexus up and, well, not running, but starting before the 4-minute mark. Now, these first two Oracles are going to fly into the main, not able to get too much done. I believe only killing 1 or 2 drones. One of them getting actually quite low on health, so Serral, with the excellent reaction time, able to pull back the drones. That way the Oracles have to fight through that Queen and the Spore before they can get any damage done. Now, I do like Showtime's 4 Adept follow-up. This might be a little bit unexpected, but of course Serral able to scout it with a Ling. Now, let's see if he noticed what was in his vision. We do see some Queens in place, some Lings as well, making sure that the Shades don't go uncontested. Now, at the same time, these 3 Oracles are going to try to burn down one of these Queens. Not quite able to do so. Oracle getting picked off by the Spore Crawler as well. So, not looking too good for Showtime because Serral is able to deflect not only the Adepts, but the Oracles as well, only losing 2 drones in that entire skirmish.
Yeah, I mean, when you open up with 3 Oracles, like, you really want to get more drones than that, to be honest. And it's not like he has, you know, kind of placed the stasis ward in the mineral line and caught some of the drones and delay some of the mining time. Like, at least that will like make up for the lack of drone kills, but not even that. So I would say Serral, gotta commend him on a good defense against these Oracles. Now, of course, there are still 2 left, and those Oracles can still come in and do some more damage. But getting drone kills at before the 5-minute mark compared to after the 5-minute mark, I think would be more preferred. So, unfortunately for Showtime, looks like yeah, he's just trying to throw like a bunch of harassment units, whether it's Oracle or Adepts, and just not quite finding too much damage with them.
Yeah, I will say though, the 2 have been quite close in the worker count, which is definitely not easy to do. You know, Serral obviously having to balance between army units and drone units, as every Zerg does in this matchup. But yeah, it looks like we have a small hit squad of sentries paired up with an Immortal as well. They are going to try to deny mining at this gold base, or maybe if they hit far enough, they might be able to hit the gold base itself. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. The Immortal actually able to target down that hatchery.
Yeah, that Big Daddy Immortal is going to go ahead and try to take down the hatchery all by himself. Does Serral respond in time? He does have some Ravagers to break some of these force fields, and Showtime smartly go ahead and backs out. And of course, he can go and take the high ground. And they're going to go ahead and attack the gold hatchery base in probably a different direction, a different angle. But nope, actually going to go ahead and just recall for now, as he imagines that there are enough reinforcements for Serral to clean up his army. It wasn't really too scary of an army, to be honest. There were a lot of sentries, but not a lot besides that. So I think that was a smart move.
Yeah, I think after he saw, hey, it's not just Lings, there are actually some Ravagers in there. And of course, Ravagers, they essentially nullify the utility of the sentries. It does take them a little bit of time to break down the force fields, but once the force fields are down, the Lings have full reign of the situation, and that's obviously not good. So, interestingly enough, we do see a Spire follow-up from Serral. Now, he's been favoring the Spire a lot recently in basically all 3 matchups, and I really do like that. But is it going to be enough to defend against this? Looks like an Immortal, Archon, Zealot-based army. We do see a couple of Disruptors as well. I like this army out of Showtime a lot. You know, we don't typically see a lot of ground armies this late into the matchup.
Alright, looks like both players are just macroing for now, just building up their army. Serral trying to spread that creep towards the Showtime side of the map. But here we go, a skirmish here out in the middle, and this is going to allow Serral a good surface area. But we'll have to back out for now, as the disruptors go ahead and doesn't really catch too much. So not good connections there by Showtime. But of course there are. Oh wait, are there more? Oh, actually he only stopped at 2 disruptors. Huh.
Yeah, looks like he's gonna just use up the rest of his supply in carriers. I like that. So, you know, threatening just enough with the ground army, but also saving enough time to transition into the Sky Toss. Oh, what a funny little interaction. We do see the Disruptor drop on the way to stop that. Kind of like a scouting Ravager in essence.
Oh, that is a juicy stasis where it catches a bunch of Banelings. However, Showtime... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, like, these Oracles have, you know, been useful for basically the entire game. Oh, speaking of useful, those High Templar able to feedback those Vipers. Oh man, this still isn't looking too good for Showtime, however, as the Banelings just keep rolling on through. They take down a lot of the ground army. Disruptor able to get off a good hit as well, but Look at that, just more and more Banelings rolling on through, annihilating even the Archons. This is a little bit ridiculous now. I mean, Showtime has lost 21, now up to 32 probes. And even if he does transition success, yep, there we go. Looks like GG is called. Serral is going to take game number 1.
All right, so basically during that game number 1, I would say Showtime really not quite finding too much economic damage or even disruption in the early game. I mean, he's committed to 3 Oracles. Wasn't really able to find too much with them, and it allowed Serral to just basically just macro like crazy. He got that gold base pretty early as well. And so I think with that economic advantage, he was able to amass enough for a big timing push that, you know, just a bunch of Roaches, Ravagers, and Banelings just roll over Showtime. And yeah, that was pretty much it there. Nothing like too crazy. And also at the same time, Showtime was transitioning to Carrier. So Serral attacking at like the perfect time when Showtime is like transitioning to Carriers and he doesn't have too much to defend on the ground.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that exact same thing, right? It was a very interesting timing that Serral was able to hit. I was about to say lucky, but knowing Serral, I doubt luck was involved, right? He probably chose that time very specifically with a lot of intent. He was able to catch Showtime out as you said, you know, he was transitioning into a couple of carriers, and I don't know, I felt like just the sheer number of Banelings were able to bust through everything.
Yeah, there was so much Banelings, and really there was nothing that Showtime could do. And I mean, he did have some decent like disruptor hits at the end, but even then, it was only just there was just so much Banelings behind it. Those Banelings that got stasis earlier on during the fight was able to kind of roll in after all the disruptors were shot out.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to be yet another game with a Stargate opener. No real surprise there, as of course Serral does scout it up front. Now, it will be an Oracle first as well. Serral did confirm it. We see that he did click on that Stargate for just a little bit. Now, these 2 Adepts are actually going to get a shade up into the main. Question is, will they complete? Nope, at the very last second, they will be canceled. They do confirm, however, that there is no gas on the there are no drones on the main gas. Of course, Serral is going to be able to queue up those drones later on. But yeah, just another indicator to Showtime, whether or not it be a mind game, that the Zerg is not going for any sort of cheese.
Yeah, that's a good peace of mind to make sure that the Zerg isn't going for anything too cheesy or tricky. So gonna be pretty much a standard opening, a standard PvZ opening here. Oracle this time around looking to get more damage compared to the previous game. Now looks like Showtime is going to go for the same opening here with 3 Oracles, and we'll see if this game number 2 can go differently for our blue Protoss.
That's right, looks like they will be able to burn down a couple of 3 drones so far. 1 Oracle obviously taking a lot of damage, but yeah, Serral has been on point with the Spore Crawler timings this game, being able to morph his low health drones into them just in time, making sure that they stay alive for a little while longer.
Alright, looks like we have another 2-prong attack. Adepts into the 3rd, while these Oracles fly into the natural. Oh, actually these Oracles are kind of being a bit lazy here.
Oh man, getting so low on health. The 2nd Oracle. Now we do see the Adepts coming in as well, and this is actually a little bit more damage than we saw in the last game. We do see 6 additional drones going down. So it means that Showtime is actually ahead, was actually ahead for just a moment in the worker count.
Yeah, I mean, I already love like that has done more damage compared to the previous game. Not only did he not lose one of the Orcos, but he also got more drone kills compared to the last game. So all in all, Serral not doing too bad, but Showtime I think in a much better position compared to the previous game.
Looks like these two Oracles are going to come in and scout out that there is a fourth base just starting. Yeah, it looks like this is going to be pretty much identical to the last game in terms of the Protoss build order. We do see a Robo Bay going down as well as a Twilight, so I feel like we're going to see Showtime go into a pretty similar composition as last time.
Yeah, looks like he's yeah, both players are pretty much going for well, I guess Showtime is going for Robotics Bay instead of Archons, because he did have Archons in the previous game, right?
Yeah, he did. He opened with a Robo Bay first, and that allowed him to get the Disruptors
right.
the Archons.
Right, that's a good point.
Oh, look at this, though. I like it with the two Oracles able to pick off 4 more drones. And yeah, I mean, Showtime just needed a game to warm up. Right now, he's definitely getting in a little bit more damage with those Oracles.
But it looks like Serral, he's got... Oh.
Interesting. Yeah, so he's going for the Swarm Host this game instead of the more traditional sort of Ravager Ling Bane composition. I like this a lot. He probably knows, like, hey, my opponent favors a ground army. What is better against the ground army than other free units, right? And it looks like he's going to be very committed to the Swarm Host. It's not just going to be something like 3 or 4 or 5 Swarm Hosts. This is going to be, you know, more than a dozen.
Yeah, and can Showtime... Yeah, Showtime does scout this, so he should know what's up. And now we got to keep our eye out on that Overseer in the backside, because there is a potential where Serral can go for Nidus Worm on this map, especially since the main base is so huge that you can kind of maybe sneak in one. But anyhow, it looks like he's going to go ahead and attack at the front on the third base.
Oh, but that Stasis Ward in a perfect position to make sure that the Locusts are not going to be able to do any more damage. Now that Disruptor doesn't get a good hit. Oh, pretty decent splits, making sure that only Roaches were killed. But yeah, I feel like Showtime, you know, as long as he continues defending well, this game should go in his favor, because this is honestly a pretty low tier army from Serral. Now, of course, he is transitioning. He is getting up to that Hive tech as well, but he is making more Lings as well. Ooh, very interesting. So we're going to see a Lurker follow-up. I like that transition a lot. Yeah,
I mean, Serral's kind of stretching it on the gas fronts with Swarm Host and Lurkers.
Yeah, that is a good point, but he does have the ability to expand pretty much anywhere he wants, given that he is keeping Showtime on the defensive. Now, I just want to say that earlier there was yet another clutch Stasis Ward able to take care of the Locusts, essentially, before they're able to do any sort of damage. And look at this. What do we see here in Showtime's main? We see a safety Dark Shrine. I like that a lot.
Oh, but what also not safe is attacking into the creep, and Serral going to go ahead and try to dive in here. Some nice force feed, though. We'll go ahead and zone some of these out. However, Locusts are going to go ahead and dive in and join in the fight, but the Disruptors as well join in the fight. Will scare Serral, and he will back out for the meantime.
Yeah, this is a pretty sizable Stalker Disruptor army. I mean, these Stalkers are not going to fall too easily, even to Lings, actually, given that they're just so sort of, well, I mean, they're not as chunky as like Ultras, you know what I mean? But when they're grouped up like that, it's actually a little bit limiting the amount of surface area that Lings are able to get on them. Now, Showtime does see that there are Hydras out on the field, and he responds with a round of Charge Lots. I like that move a lot. These Disruptors obviously putting in good work as well. The Warp Prism being loaded up. Oh man, the splits from Serral are on point, making sure that only a handful of Lings are caught out. Now, do these Lurkers survive is the question. We do see a very nice Blinding Cloud taking advantage of Showtime's own force fields. trapping the Stalkers with nowhere to go and nothing to shoot at, essentially. Very well played with the Vipers by Serral.
Yeah, Showtime being a little bit too forward there in terms of the blink. And Serral made him pay for it by throwing down that blinding cloud. And so Showtime does lose a bit of units, but he does save the majority of them. In the meantime, the Swarm Host is still doing some nice damage. Doesn't get too much done, but he does like weaken the defenses of that third base. And here we go, another fight here in the middle. These lurkers though are gonna be, I don't know, it's not a lot here for Showtime to defend or to counter these lurkers, which makes me kind of worried for him.
Yeah, these lurkers are I mean, there's basically no recourse other than this disruptors, but look at that, Serral only losing one lurker to this. Of course, as you mentioned earlier, the Swarm Hosts are still fighting. They weren't quite enough to take down the Nexus by themselves, but I'm sure that's going to change soon. I mean, Serral is, I mean, I kind of expected him to expand at this point, but he doesn't really need to, I guess. He's been proving that he can handle a ground Protoss army just fine.
Yeah, the army composition of Serral is really annoying to play with, or to play against with what Showtime has right now. So he's gonna try. I would suggest he try to start transitioning to something else, but it's kind of hard for him to transition into something else when the majority of his army is in these ground units, and what he really needs now against these lurkers are maybe something like carriers or something. But I don't think he has that time to transition to carriers before several attacks.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, we see 9 lurkers out on the field. Showtime knows that he needs to make something happen while he still can, and it looks like that will be the case as he is pushing on forward, clearing creep with his main army. Disruptors are going to be in the back. Storm is available as... Oh, I'm sorry. Storm has not finished researching just yet. It's about halfway done, so these High Templar will only be good for feedbacks, which, of course, is not bad at all. Okay, the first High Templar did actually get picked off, unfortunately. Now, these Swarm Hosts, again, being relentless, targeting down the cannons and whatever else they can. The main army is forced to pull back to deal with these Locusts, which are just so annoying to play against, as you said earlier, Snoopy.
Yeah, I mean, man, when you have free units after free units, like, it's just really helpful to just kind of weaken. I mean, they haven't really done like significant amount of damage, but they have weakened up the defenses. It has to force Showtime to make more Q batteries, more cannons, instead of investing those resources into something else.
Yeah, we see a Greater Spire on the way, as well as a Nidus for our red Zerg player. On the other hand, Showtime only just now being able to start up a couple of extra Stargates, as well as the Fleet Beacon, which is just about to finish. It might be too little too late, I'm not sure, simply because these Locusts, these Swarm Hosts which spawn the Locusts have been so ridiculously efficient. I mean, what's better than free, right? And on the other hand, we also see the Greater Spire just about to finish as well. First 2 carriers are on the production tab, so Serral can continue trading out, but he has a massive bank behind this, and I'm just not sure how Showtime will be able to match up against this.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame him for transitioning to carriers, because you know he can't really do too much with the ground forces that he has right now. So at some point he needed to do the transition, but like you mentioned, is it going to be a little too late? At the very least, he does start expanding down. Oh, actually, hold that thought. There is a huge catch here on the top side. These charges are going to absolutely snipe off all these Swarm Hosts. So just a nice little pick-off here for Showtime.
Yeah, that was pretty decent, shaving off a lot of supply off of the Zerg. And obviously, you know, maybe it actually could be a good thing, right? There's always the optimistic side where, you know, maybe Serral wants to get rid of them because Showtime is able to deal with the Locusts a little too well. And then, of course, you have to keep in mind that these Swarm Hosts are very supply inefficient. They just cost a ridiculous amount of supply, and who knows, maybe Serral has that sense of like, hey, I'd rather this supply be put to better use, such as Corruptors or more Spellcasters, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think that Serral is going to be transitioning into the air after, of course, he cleans up the ground of his opponent. These Lurkers are able to do so much damage to both the Nexus and the Mineral Line. 9 probes have already fallen. That Nexus is not going to be allowed to live. Carries are out on the field, and I think Serral knows that it is time to transition into Corruptors.
Yeah, we're heading towards that late stage PVZ where it's gonna be like an air war of some sort. Carriers, let's see how many carriers are out here. Let's see, 3 and 3 on the way. So we're gonna have 6 carriers out on the field. So yeah, these Corruptors are gonna be really important for Serral, because he doesn't have, besides those Corruptors, he doesn't really have too much to in terms of anti-air. I mean, he does have some Hydralisk, although actually, as I mentioned it, I think the majority of them has morphed into Lurking instead. Yeah, only 4 Hydralisk, so yeah, these Corruptors gonna play in a key important part in taking down these carriers. You might want to actually probably maybe also combine them, combo them with the right Vipers with the ducks, and just kill those carriers one by one, or at the very least maybe some infestors. But I think Vipers, Corruptors are the way to go for the time being.
Yeah, I think you are able to see the future, my friend. I mean, obviously we do have the pretty massive air army for Showtime going up against the absolutely ridiculous Corruptor, Lurker, Viper army of Serral. Now, funnily enough, Serral is the one who is down on supply, probably waiting to see what Showtime has exactly before committing to any sort of specific army. Now, we do see the Disruptors able to take a couple of pot shots, but the first of the Viper yoinks have been committed. I mean, there are some pretty decent pulls on the carriers. 2 of them do go down, but the rest of them are going to be able to clean up the Lurkers. It is not enough. Showtime calls GG, and Serral is able to sweep this series 2-0.